Hey everyone, in this video we are going to go over this PS70 portable power station from Bluetti. This is a 720 watt hour lithium ion battery. It's not lithium iron phosphate, and it has a 500 watt AC inverter output. Now this unit was received dead on arrival. I did get it working, but I opened it up at the risk of voiding the warranty, and I'm going to show you what was wrong with this to get it working. All right, so to show you what it was doing, I re-broke it. So when you hit the power button, the fans back here would turn on, and there's a small LED that would light up right here. So the screen doesn't turn on, and you can see this small LED light right here that lights up. The fans immediately shut back off, but nothing works. So usually you would hold these buttons, they would light up right here, and then you'd have output power, but nothing has power, and obviously there's power to the unit. Another thing is there was a loud clunking noise when this was received, and it turns out it's this entire top board. So I will say all of these connections, the XT30s, this main XT90 from the battery is all AMAX, which is the OEM, the original, the trademarked, or what's the word I'm looking for? Patented. Yeah, that's it. So they have the patent for these, so it's not the cheap knockoffs. They use the real manufacturer for all of this. Let me see if I can show you what's going on with this board. So right here is one of the mounting points. There's one here. There's one down in here. One down here on this side. And then there's one up here in the front. And another one right here. And basically what happens is hopefully you can see that on the bottom of the board, there's a serrated brass piece, and it is seated into plastic. And this plastic actually is part of the bottom down here, but it broke off. So you can kind of see the serrations. Let's see if I can get that to come into focus. So you can see the serrations down there where it was seated down in there. And then this edge is actually not flat, so you can tell that it broke. If you look up here, you can see that that one broke off as well. So this entire top board, basically with the inverter, everything, is just bouncing around inside the case, which is not good. What ended up being the problem with this was this ribbon cable right here. So none of these other connections were loose. This is the AC output right here from the board that goes down to the inverter output. And then there's a few other connections, but I couldn't find anything loose. And what it ended up being was this ribbon cable. So I actually pushed it down like that tiny little bit. And then when we hit the power button, it all lit up. The fans did the same thing where they cycled and then shut off. That little LED is also lit up, but now you have your screen, and when you hold these, you get output. So everything is working completely normal. So to secure this top board down, we are gonna use some 3M VHB double-sided tape. This stuff is awesome. If you've never used it before, you're missing out. So there you can see there's a post that broke. Back in the middle, let me get this in focus. Right there in the middle is a post that broke and pulled out. Back over on the other side, you can see there's a post there. And up here in the front, there's two that let go and broke as well. So probably fine in theory if you're not tossing this thing around during delivery, but they're very mean. They're very rough with these things. So obviously it's not a very robust design. That plastic must be pretty brittle for it to break like that. It's kind of heavy on this top side, but I would never have expected it to break the way it did. So we stacked up 6 layers of VHB right there underneath the board. You can see it a little bit. Tried to find somewhere with no circuitry under there for the back. And then up here at the front, we stuck it to this little plastic box. I'm sure there's a technical term for it, but... And then we ran that down onto the side of the battery. And it's, I mean, it's pretty solid now. It's not going to go anywhere. You'd have to throw this thing off a building for it to do something. All right, so we got the unit on. I'm pretty sure this gauge right here is not correct because when you turn the AC on, it goes to 49 watts. And I have a space heater plugged into this kilowatt meter. So now I'm going to turn the fan on. And you can see that the wattage on this actually went down, even though that says we're drawing 20 watts. So I don't really trust this, and you'll see why here in a minute. We're going to go ahead and kick this heater on to low, and it draws about 600 watts. So this unit is only rated for 500 watts continuous, so this should be a pretty good overload test. So a kilowatt meter says it's drawing about 650 watts right now. This says 440, so that's way off. I definitely trust the kilowatt meter more than the meter on this. And the input side does seem to be fairly accurate. We plugged the AC charger in, and that read 165 watts, and I believe the sticker on that says 42 volts at 4 amps, which is 168 watts. Math? Yeah, 168 watts. So that's pretty close. The output on this does not seem to be very close at all. So there are cooling vents right here that run to the back of the unit, back here, and the cooling fan is on. But it's still going. This is a continuous video so far. So we're 2 minutes in, it hasn't overloaded yet. And I've actually done a load test on this already with this heater, with the AC plugged in to maximize the runtime, and it never shut off from overload. It actually ran the battery to 0% before it shut off for an overload. So this thing ran 600 watts, 610 watts continuously until the battery was depleted and never shut down, which I think is pretty impressive. That goes, you know, it's 120% of the rated output that this thing was able to continuously, you know, run. All right, so this has been running for several minutes now. Oh, the meter just dropped down to 80%. Still drawing, that's hard to see. Still drawing 607 watts. I'm gonna go ahead and kick this heater up to high. It will fault, but we'll see what kind of wattage it gets to before it faults out. So I just changed it. There it went. So a little over 800 watts before it shut off. So I'll go ahead and shut this off, turn it back on, and that resets it. And I have to turn the AC output back on. All right. And we can turn this back to low. Should be drawing 610 watts again. Like I said, it will run this until the battery's depleted, which I think is really impressive considering it's only rated for 500 watts. 720 watt hours is not very big, but it's enough to get you through a night if you have like a CPAP machine or some small electronics that you want to keep charged up, flashlights and all that. This is more than capable. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this heater off and show you guys the front face of this, because I think it's actually a pretty decent little unit. So you got your screen here. It's very basic, nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. Your input here is 12 to 45 volts at 10 amps. So I don't think it'll take 450 watts, but 200 watts in solar panels coming into this is more than enough to get this thing topped up in a few hours. Each one of the outputs have their own independent switches, so you can shut them off or turn them on, whichever ones you want to run. And then it changes this up here to DC on, DC off. And over here, it'll do the same thing. this is 13 volts regulated because it's actually a 42 volt battery. So you got two 12 volt barrel connectors here, which I don't think are very useful, but maybe in other countries it is. A Type C USB here, two QC 3.0s, and then two regular 2.4 amp, I believe it is, USB ports. So enough connectivity here to power multiple devices. These bottom two outlets don't have a ground plug, but the top two do. So that's something to pay attention to, because if you are using ground plug extension cords or appliances, you're only going to be able to plug two of those in. Overall, I do like this unit. I am kind of sad that it came in broken the way it did and we had to kind of repair it, but it comes with this AC charger, and that's 42 volts output and 4 amps, so 168 watts, which isn't bad. That'll top this thing up in like 4.5 hours, give or take, and it's fairly lightweight, so I do still like it. Bluetti right now has a sale on these. I believe they're $300, which is a steal for the capability. If you just needed something to get you through the night or whatever, you just want to have something on hand to power small appliances, you can't really go wrong. So along with the AC charger that I just showed, it does come with a 12 volt cigarette outlet adapter to be able to charge with 12 volts. And then it does come with an MC4 cable, so you can charge off of solar panels as well. So multiple ways to charge, kind of handy. And most importantly, it has an LED light, so that way you can see in the dark. Seems kind of gimmicky, but actually pretty handy. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for this repair/review video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one.